What's up, Michigan? Welcome back to the high school baseball podcast we call In The Dugout. My name is Lauren Plant. All season long, I have been chatting with some of the best high school coaches here in the Wolverine State. I say Wolverine because my guest this week is a former pitcher at that very university. Yes, exactly. Which, again, is all the more fascinating considering he grew up in Columbus, Ohio. So maybe that's a story. Nevertheless, he has been a longtime resident of the Dexter community, and he is head coach of the Dexter Dreadnoughts. Mike Penn, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited for this.
Yeah, exactly. So your father, who is also named Mike Penn, correct?
Correct.
All right. Pitched for Ohio State in the 1970s, I read.
You've done your research, absolutely.
A little bit, yes. Now, can you say that it was your father that turned you onto the baseball, onto the game of baseball as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that from my perspective, I don't think I really have a memory with me not being on the field in the spring.
Right.
So my dad was an integral part of that. He's a Hall of Fame coach in Ohio. Obviously I'm biased, but he's one of the best coaches I've ever been around. And so, yeah, for sure, he, instilled a love for the game with me and specifically coaching. I think it was fun for me watching my dad lead young men and help beyond just the game. I think that was an important, part of his mission as a teacher and as a coach was just go beyond the game. How do I help you develop young men? I think that's a big part of what, has driven me to continue to coach. So, yeah.
So share for our audience where he coached and how long he was involved in the game of coaching.
So my dad coached at Worthington Christian High School in north side of Columbus. So, Worthington, Westerville areas where we grew up on the north side. He was involved in the program for 33 years. He was a head coach for 15 years of that time. And then I think he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. I can't remember what exactly it was. He was in Central Ohio Coaches, Hall of Fame there. And he's just always been around. He actually stepped down when I became a freshman in high school. We were a small school, Division IV school. He knew that there was going to be some controversy about coaches' kids coming in. Should he be the head coach when I arrive and it's small school? And so he actually decided to step back and I guess I could have gone either way on that, but he wanted to let me stand on my own 2 feet. I think that's an important thing, even for my own sons as they're coming up, that they need to stand on their own merit and not because of what dad has done or what dad does for a profession or anything like that. I think it's important that we create kids that are going to stand on their own.
Yeah, it's very interesting because we do see at the high school level a lot of coaches who end up coaching their sons, in various sports. But while growing up, it makes perfect sense at the little league level and the pony colt level. Then as you progress to high school, you could see where if you have that option, he may say, hey, I'm going to step back, let him kind of sow his own roots and just, get rid of a lot of those issues.
Correct.
So Worthington Christian in the Columbus area, you're in that region. And it wasn't just baseball for you, right? You were on a team that won a state championship in basketball, right? And you were voted team captain your senior year. So did you have a lot of love for hoops?
Oh, you really dug deep on this. I would say that we were a basketball school. Unequivocally had some great players around us. Listen, I won a state championship, but I'm very quick to point out that I played 5.6 seconds of that championship game. I was a role player. I was a bench player. Right. I'm blessed to have a ring. No one will ever take that away from me. I made other people better. But yes, we were a basketball school, excellent basketball school. And again, had great coaches there, had great mentors and models there that I would never replace. And each guy's been a little bit different. Ray Slagle is different from Kevin Weekly, which is different from my dad. Everybody has their own style. Even Rich Maloney in college has a different style than all those guys. And I think you kind of, as a coach, you end up melding together all of those individuals and kind of formulate your own style.
So speaking of Rich Maloney, you started out at Ball State. And started there. How did you end up at Michigan, and how hard was that for your family to swallow?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I went to Ball State. Rich had a really good tradition of taking guys like myself who were kind of underdeveloped. I was a real late bloomer. I grew like 8 inches between my junior and senior year. And so I kind of went from this scrawny little kid to all of a sudden I had a Ferrari of a right arm, if you will. And I was touching
Right.
88, 90. But I was still skinny as a rail. I was 6'3", 173 pounds entering my freshman year. And Rich had this tradition of taking guys, putting 20, 30 pounds on it, developing them, and turning them into draft picks. And I really felt like that's what I wanted to do. So I needed to go. I wasn't a ready-made Division I player. I needed to go work on getting my body right, getting my mind right, really learning more to be able to put myself in that position. So that's what I was looking for. Rich has a rich tradition of that, not pardon the pun there, but that was what he was known for. So I got to go there my freshman year. I played with Brian Bollington, number 1 overall pick, Luke Haggard. I think we had like 5 first-round picks on that team. We were an excellent team. Yeah. Then he announced after my freshman year that he got the head job at Michigan. He's a Michigan man. I think he's from the kind of on the more towards Detroit side of things. And so really that was his dream job. So I was the only guy that transferred with him. There was actually a little bit of a fight for me to leave Ball State to go to Michigan. Rich told me to stay. He told all the guys to stay. Didn't want to rob the program, felt like he'd built something and didn't want us to leave. And so initially I said, that's great. But then as I talked about it, I felt like I could play in the Big Ten. I really felt like I was slighted. I always had a chip on my shoulder because I was a younger guy that, again, late bloomer. I felt like I wanted to prove myself at the highest level. My dad felt the same way because he played at Ohio State. Ohio State didn't recruit me at all. 0. Never said a word to me. Went to camps. I was a legacy guy, all of that type of stuff.
Your senior season, we'll flash forward, all Big Ten, first team, starting pitcher, co-captain. What do you remember the most about your college baseball experience?
Well, I think when you go back to college, I think you think about the guys, right? You think about your teammates. I think that's the thing. That's the thing that lasts the most. Your playing career is short, but those friendships are forever. And so definitely remember that. I remember my junior year, I kind of was expected to be drafted. Went to Ohio State, faced off against a guy named Scott Lewis, who went in the 3rd round. Was up to 95 that day. Really felt like I was going to get picked, and I thought I did enough to be drafted. And then the draft came and went, and I was really kind of bitter. Went back home, had to refocus and kind of rededicate myself to the team. And like your junior year, you kind of, I hate to say it this way, but you kind of become a little bit selfish, especially if you're on the draft boards.
Right.
As a senior, you kind of come back and you say, look, it's all out the window. It doesn't matter. I mean, if I get picked, I'm great. But the reality is, like, this is my last ride. If I don't get picked, then I'm going to go work a regular job. If I get picked, I might as well dedicate everything I can to my team regardless, right? So it was a mental refocus for me. And then we had a great season. I mean, our lineup was really, really good. I was not the number 1 starter. Jim Brower was. I pitched in the 2 or 3, depending on the weekend. Had a great year. Was first team All Big Ten. Again, then I actually went back to Ohio State and I beat Ohio State at Ohio State, nice. which was a blast. And then, I mean, I think that, that's what I kind of remember. But then I guess most specifically was being chosen, and we worked so hard, being chosen to be in the NCAA tournament was huge. In high school, obviously everybody gets in, but I remember sitting in the room and watching the selection committee. I think we were one of the last regions to get picked. We got picked to go to Georgia Tech. We were jumping up and down. The guys were crying, like coaches crying. Like, I mean, it was incredible. We didn't win a Big Ten tournament or championship. I leave, and then they win 3 in a row. So again, maybe I have a history of leaving and the good things happening. I don't know, but yeah, it was an incredible ride, and being drafted at the end was great. But I would say that senior season being tightly knit as a team was really fun.
Right, and then obviously, I'm sure it was a lot of fun. You were then had an opportunity to be a part of the Kansas City Royals organization.
I did, yeah. I mean, I got to do there. I got to pro ball, and I couldn't stay healthy. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was pitching every 5th day. I went in as a starter. I was drafted in the 11th round, and I really thought that I was going to have a long career, just like every pro guy expects. Even though I was a senior sign, I was kind of oblivious to how the inner workings of professional baseball work. However, if you got a ticket and a seat, you got a shot, right? So. Right. I really felt like I had the stuff. My comp was kind of like, if you remember, like Jeff Suppan, like 88, 92, sinker ball kind of guy, control guy. Wasn't anything flashy, but competed really hard and got outs. but I wasn't spectacular and flashy. But then, unfortunately, I just couldn't stay healthy. And so, when you're a senior sign, you had 2 shoulder surgeries, you're damaged goods. They have a bunch of young guys in the pipeline that are throwing 94, 95. The handwriting was on the wall, and that's when Rich called and said, "Hey, I think that you might be a good college coach." So I went back and coached with him for a year.
Awesome. So I'd like to find out, what has been your coaching journey? What has that been like up to this point? How'd you get into it? And then who has been influential in helping you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of alluded to it a little bit. Obviously, my dad, right?
Yeah.
I think Rich had a huge part of that. Rich was kind of like almost a second dad to me in college. Had a great childhood, but I think there was a bond that formed there. I still talk to Rich quite often, like once a month kind of thing, or once every couple months. I love Rich. Rich knew how to drive the right result in my mind. He pushed the right buttons for me anyway. And he knew how to kind of get the most out of me. And I think that was always fascinating. So I went back and I coached at U of M as the volunteer assistant for a year. I really thought I was going to be a college coach. And then ultimately, after 1 year kind of experiencing that, really kind of decided that this probably wasn't for me and my family. And I think the recruiting and all the things that people don't see about college coaching, I think for me personally, just wasn't going to be a good fit. So I still had an itch to coach, and I really felt like, my wife grew up in Dexter. I wanted to come back, and I wanted to, any community that I'm a part of, I want to make sure that I give back to it. And so I came back to Dexter. We settled in Dexter, and my wife again grew up here. And so we decided that let's coach in Dexter as long as we can, and create and develop a program as best we can, and then go from there. So it's been a really good ride. And I would say from an influential perspective, I'd say Rich has been really impactful. Again, Ray Schlegel, Kevin Weekly, my dad, those are the guys. I've read a ton of books. Obviously, you read the Wooden and the Anson Dorrance from North Carolina soccer. And, you read about all these different coaches. And I like to kind of do some of that type of stuff about culture building and team building and that type of stuff. I mean, you can glean little nuggets from everybody. So, yeah.
And your wife was Dexter born, right? She, in that community, am I correct, right? Volleyball player, right?
Yeah, so she was in a military family. They finally settled in Dexter when she was in 6th grade. Ended up becoming, I bring the athletic genes in the family down. She was Gatorade Player of the Year in Michigan. Right. She's a really, really good player. Right. Recruited by Stanford and Hawaii and all these really, really high power programs. And I barely made it to Ball State my freshman year, right? So she's an incredible athlete. In fact, she's going to go back and coach again now that our kid's a little bit older. She just took the job, and she'll be the head coach this coming fall for the volleyball program here in Dexter.
Nice.
Something that we didn't have kids earlier, but so she's back. She's a better coach than I am, but she's pretty special. So yeah, she settled here in 6th grade and then kind of made this home base. Now we live in downtown. I don't think, Lord willing, we'll never move. We love it here. Love the community. Love the schools. Great place to live.
All right. So complete side note here, and Google is amazing. But I saw somewhere that a decade ago, you and your wife won a yard makeover from the Desperate Landscape Show. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we were sitting at home. So we bought literally the worst house in town. It was, we bought it coming out of 08 and 09. It was a total dump. And nobody really wanted to live in downtown Dexter at the time. And now everybody wants to live in downtown Dexter. So I was literally outside pulling weeds, and we had this overgrown area. And I walked inside and I go, Aaron, there's got to be a better way to do this. I started looking stuff up. I find online that there's this most desperate landscapes national competition. So I'm I think we should, submit a video for this. We submit a video. We took a half day off work, worked on it, submitted on YouTube. The next day we got a phone call from the producers. Wow. They said, hey, we love your story. They submitted the video. We ended up winning the competition. It was an hour-long special on the DIY network, and the landscaping looked way better then than it does now. But it was honestly, it was one of the things that transformed us. We always thought we'd live in town for a quick minute, improve our house, and then sell and move outside of town. But that kind of changed our opinion of downtown. We love living in downtown, so we walked to the bakery, the library, everything, and yeah, it was a fun journey. That was a side note, but that was a cool experience.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously you guys made a killer video for them to respond so quickly. So
that's right. Yeah, well, you fake it till you make it, right?
yeah,
So.
you got good production skills. All right. So we know that you guys love Dexter. When did you take over the head coaching job? And honestly, what outside of, I know your family's ingrained there, but what has kept you there over this time? And you explained that you thought maybe there would be some new challenges perhaps at the collegiate level.
Yeah, so I think that so I took over. I started in 2011 with Don Little as the head coach, and Don was great. He was a dad in the program. He kind of like thrown into the role really quickly. I think we had a coach that left 2 or 3 weeks before the season. They said, hey, he was supposed to be the freshman coach, ended up becoming the head coach. He brought on a former teammate of mine, Mike Schmidt, and then me, and he told Schmitty and I, he's like, you guys run the baseball stuff. I'll take care of parent emails, transportation, disciplinary issues, whatever.
Right.
I'm the figurehead. You guys run the baseball stuff. And it was perfect. It was a great intro for me to coaching. Let us do what we knew to do best because I didn't know how to run a program.
Right.
So fast forward to 2015, Don leaves, and I took over. And it's been a blast. I mean, so we did a lot of things early on, got into the youth program, started doing camps on the regular, tried to work with the little league teams, all of that type of stuff. And I knew that Dexter was a growing community and one that if we put emphasis on baseball and all sports, we wanted to be supportive of football and basketball and cross country and like all of these other sports.
Right.
But we knew that if we keep good athletes, we have a good enough talent pool. And as we continue to grow in population, we can be a force to be reckoned with. And so the mission for me was selfish in the sense that my boys now are 12 and 8. And I wanted to bring them up into a program that, eventually pass it off to somebody and have a really solid foundation that they can work off. I wanted our baseball to be important in our community. I feel like we've done that and we've done that well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think from that perspective, I've had an opportunity to maybe go back and coach in college here and there, but really from a family perspective, for Aaron and I, we really wanted to be around for our kids. And I think college coaching, the guys that do college coaching and do it well, they're gone a lot. They are really, really hard workers. And striking that right balance was going to be a challenge. I'm not saying that I couldn't have done it, and guys do it very successfully. It just probably wasn't for me. It wasn't the way I was wired. And so I felt like I could scratch the itch of coaching at the high school level. And you know what? Like we've made tons of great relationships. We've I've got guys that come back. We call them family, right? So guys come back and pop up in the dugout, give them hugs, like they show up the games. And our goal was to create an experience at the high school level that would be, the vast majority of them aren't going to play college baseball, right? So how do we create a good experience that they enjoy, but we keep the main thing, and have a good experience as they go through a program.
Do you feel like you are comfortable enough to coach your kids in high school?
So it's interesting. I guess now it's going to get out here pretty soon. I actually just stepped down, or I informed our athletic department that I'm going to step down at the end of the year. And so that's not because I'm being forced out. I think I was always like, we're welcome. We've won 20 games 3 years in a row. We're, in my view, I think we should be ranked in the top 20 in the state, but that's not my job. I'm not on the ranking committee. And so for us, we have 3 kids. It's just time. I've been coaching for 13 years, and I want to go see my boys play, and I want to see my daughter. She loves volleyball, and that's a club sport, and that's in the spring. And so she's going to be there. So we're just running a little bit ragged. And I think from that perspective, they need time. I tell my kids that they are just one of 5 in our family. Right. And so I need to kind of follow my own advice, and I'm one of 5 of our own family too. And I need to make sure that I'm giving them their time. And I've had my time in the sun. Right. So Dexter baseball has never been about me. It's been about trying to build a program that's sustainable, that is important. And again, I think we've accomplished that. I'm actually really excited to see who's next because I think the pipeline is full. We have a lot of young guys. We've got like some talented classes that are coming in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's going to be really interesting to see where Dexter is. And we might find a young guy that can give more than I can right now. And he can spend the extra time and he can do the extra hitting. And instead of me sprinting from field to field or going from the varsity field to go see my kids' game, the guys need to hit extra. They need to take extra ground balls. They need to do all the little things. And I think the next guy can give that, and I can't at this point. So it's a little bit unfair for me, even for our high school guys, in my opinion, that they deserve more than what I can give.
Well, I think that's great. And I would say that you're not necessarily closing a door. You are just pushing pause while
Correct.
your kids go through their high school experience. You want to be there, be able to be at those games. Absolutely. And a lot of guys in your position will do that. And then at some point find the love again and come back in some capacity, So
Yeah, I would hope the new person, whoever that is, next year would, I'm happy to be a resource. I'm also happy to be dad. So, I'm sure I'll have to find that. I'll have to kind of like toe that line. But at the same time, I think it's important that, they know that I still care about the program. I care about our guys. I'm deeply involved with those guys. My commitment to them is I want to help them in any way possible. If you're family for life. And if they want to, if they have aspirations to play at the next level, I just had conversations with Davenport and Wayne State and different people just over the past few days about some of our guys that are going to have a shot to play at the next level. And I'll be around. I'm not moving. So, I just won't be on that field. So,
all right. Well, maybe perhaps we can get some state champs stuff working and get your
hey, happy to.
All right. So I might hold you to that. But again, we're speaking with Mike Penn, current head coach at Dexter High School. Now, you guys play in a region that in the last 15 years or so has seen Saline certainly see its share of success. Hornets with 5 finals appearances since 2008, including a state title in 2017. Districts are now underway. You are in Saline's district. You've got a matchup with Ann Arbor Pioneer at 12:30 in a district semifinal coming up on Saturday. And then you will, the championship, should you get through that, will play the winner of Saline and Skyline. In fact, Skyline, the team that beat you for the district title a year ago, I'm sure that still stings. So either way, you guys are motivated to get to the district final and hopefully get to the regionals, which would be the first time since 2019, I believe. So how has this season progressed? How's it going to, and what's it going to take for the Dreadnoughts to get where you want to be?
I would say that's a great question. I would say that it takes consistency and urgency, right? So I think that we've kind of talked about as a team internally that we need to show up consistently every day and show up with that urgency that we know that we need to have to win, right? So oftentimes the games that we've lost early on have been because we're kind of waiting for somebody else to do a job or get a hit, or hey, we're going to turn it on at the right time, instead of saying, I'm the guy, I'm going to step up, I'm going to put everybody on my back, put them on my shoulders, I'm going to take us to victory, right? So I think that's the big thing. If we get the team that we think we have going, and again, I'm biased, but I think right? So, and you're right. Historically, Saline is an outstanding program. Scott Tyson built something. He's got Al Zier, an alum that's running the program now. Like, there's tradition there, and tradition, as Grosse Pointe South likes to say, tradition never graduates, right?
That's right. That's right.
And there's something to be said for that, right? And so I think that they've consistently been a top dog in the region. I think that we're competitive with them. We have to play really good baseball to beat them. And I would say the same thing with Pioneer and Skyline. All of those games have been wars all year long. SEC is a good conference. And so there is no easy road. I think we're battle tested. We've played Fenton. We've played Bay City Western. We got canceled against Orchard Lake St. Mary's. But we played Northville. We've played tough teams. We've played Portland, right? So I think we're battle tested. I think we can hang, but we need to make sure that we are, again, consistently urgent, I guess is the right way to say it.
And I would say in Division I, it's wide open,
100%.
right? Wyatt Navarra was announced as a 2023 All-Star. He'll play in the 7 p.m. game at Comerica Park on June 26th before he joins the Michigan Wolverines.
Amen to that.
Southpaw pitcher, right?
Yeah. So Wyatt's outstanding. I mean, Wyatt, when Wyatt's right and he really is going and clicking all cylinders, he's one of the best arms in the state. He's 88-93 a lot of times. When he threw well against Monroe early in the year, developed a blister and had a little bit of a setback over the past couple of weeks. He's finally got that figured out and got that right. But Wyatt is an electric arm and one that you rarely see. Physical kid. I think he's going to have a good career at Michigan and hopefully beyond. But Wyatt can beat, if he's on, he can beat anybody.
And just to give a couple more shout-outs, a couple other guys that have really led the way for you this season you're proud of.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Tessmer is our center fielder, been there for 3 years, and just Joey's electric. He's going to Spring Arbor. He's an outstanding defender. I think he's probably the best center fielder we've had. He's a 6'7" runner, a legit 6'7" runner. He's 87 from the outfield, 6'2", 6'3", skinny as a rail, but man, he's electric. Garrett Sharp, our outfield is unbelievably fast. I think we have all sub 6, like we're 6'7" runners or better. It's a college, level outfield when it comes to speed. Nice. I think Garrett Sharp's a really interesting player to watch. Connor Sweeney's kind of operated as a number 2 on the mound this year, and Connor's been up to 89. He's probably going to get some Division II, Division I looks. A good looking 6'3" righty. Andrew Cusick's a freshman that stepped in. He's been 5-2 on the mound. He's going to get definitely, I think, all league, if not all district, and maybe all region honors because he's been that consistent. Just a kid that's a bulldog that has no fear. He's played at a high level in Texas growing up, and then kind of comes to Dexter a couple years ago, and we've had the benefit of having him. So I would say we've got 3 arms at the top that can beat you, any one of them. I think we've got speed on the base paths. I think we defend really well. We've got a shortstop that's experienced. I mean, AJ Vaughn. We are a dangerous team, but again, this is why you play the game, right? So if we go out and we do things well in the right way, in the Dexter baseball way, I think we can be hot and we can be dangerous.
Well, and I think it's going to be very important that you have some depth on the pitching mound as you go through this run, especially 100%. with the pitching limits and things of that nature. If you have 3 and if they're all on, then I give you just as great a shot as anyone. What's your relationship been like with the Baseball Coaches Association over the years?
I would say that, so I started Prep Baseball Report Michigan a few years back, and then ultimately ended up leaving that position. So I had a really much closer relationship with the Coaches Association. I don't have as much, and a lot of it's time, right? Yeah. So having 3 young kids and helping coach their sports and being in the community and so on and so forth, I can't give to the association probably the way that I would like to. Yeah. I think it's strong. I think there's an amazing group of men there that are talented and great to be a part of. So I'm not super close and really well integrated, and I think there's probably some of the reason why we're overlooked and we're not as closely watched. However, I have a ton of respect for those guys, and it's really nothing as I don't want to be involved. It's more just a reality of where we're at in life.
Yeah, and I would say also that, as new guys coming up, it seems like there is really that open communication put out there so that some of these young guys, as they come up, they can kind of learn some of the tricks of the trade from these guys who've been doing it for so long.
100%. I think it's always important to lean on people that have gone before you. And there's so much wisdom. I mean, Wayne Welton talk about guys that were influential. Right. Wayne Welton, Dave Sontag, and Scott Tyson. Those 3 guys locally I talk to them probably once a week, right? I mean, they're guys that I lean on, from coaching advice, like, hey, disciplinary issues, to playing time, to, hey, senior day is coming up and I've got 10 seniors. How do I get them all in the, just little stuff like that. How do we run practices better? I mean, I haven't got it all figured out. I'm still learning, right? And so even though I've been doing it a while, I don't think you can ever say that you've learned it all or get it all figured out. You might have a system that you like and it works well, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you stop trying to try new things.
All right. Well, Coach, we have reached win or go home time. So good luck to the Dexter Dreadnoughts here over the weekend and moving forward. And who knows? You guys can get on a run, and we'll see you at Michigan State. You never know.
I'd love to. Would mean the world for sure.
Absolutely. Talk about going out on top. That would be awesome. All right, Coach, regardless of what happens, congratulations on everything you've been able to achieve throughout your time there and what you give back to the Dexter community and all that. I know they appreciate it. And we'll be watching. Thanks a lot.